Welcome back. On this day, 85 years ago, a deadly plane crash took the life of an Alaskan pioneer.
Yeah, Ralph Wien and two Catholic priests were killed in that crash at Kotzebue back in 1930. As author Laurel Downing-Bill tells us, Ralph was instrumental in the creation of a former longtime commercial airline here in Alaska. She joins us back on the couch for story time with Ann Phil. Good morning, Laurel.
Good morning.
So to understand Ralph's significance in Alaskan history, we first need to talk about his brother Noel, right?
That's right. Noel came first. He arrived in Alaska in 1924 on board a steamer, along with his disassembled World War I standard J-1 airplane. He had taken a job with a new company called the Alaska Aerial Transportation Company, which was owned by James S. Ronbaugh of Fairbanks. Well, Noel was looking forward to earning his $300 a month flying around the wilderness of Alaska.
In aviation, it was just beginning to take off at this time?
Yeah, the spring before, Anchorage residents had gone and cleared that swath of land between 9th and 10th Avenues and C and L Street, which had served as a fire break from downtown Anchorage to the wilderness on the south. And Noel was the first to christen the new airstrip when he took off in his reassembled airplane to test it out. And then he took residents of Anchorage up for 15-minute rides for $10 a piece, which is about $140 in today's money. So he became Alaska's first commercial pilot.
But he wasn't the first to fly in Alaska.
No, the first thing that went up in Alaska's skies was a hot air balloon in 1899
Really?
over Juneau on the 4th of July.
Fun.
And then other early airplanes we had, like a Blériot monoplane, we had Fokker F-3, as well as some seaplanes in southeast Alaska, according to experts in early aviation.
Okay, so who was the first person to fly Alaska's skies?
That would be James V. Martin. He came to Alaska in 1913, again by steamer, and he did 5 aerial shows in Fairbanks between July 3rd and July 5th of 1913. The residents in Fairbanks had remodeled sort of their exposition park and turned it from an horse and auto racing track into a makeshift airstrip. And boy, I'll tell you, those people in Fairbanks went nuts over looking over that newfangled flying machine.
Yeah, you got to keep up with the times. But one of the Wiens is credited with a first in Alaska.
Yes, well, Noel being the first commercial pilot, he also was the first to fly from Anchorage to Fairbanks, as well as the first to land above the Arctic Circle. Now, he hired Ralph to come work for Rodenbaugh's operation as a mechanic, and then the two brothers split away a couple years later, and they formed the Wien brothers, and they had their first scheduled flight from Fairbanks to Nome in 1927. And of course, like all early pilots, now there were some crash landings back in those days because you couldn't call ahead to see what the weather conditions were or if they had a good landing strip. So those early pilots would look around for a good place to put down their plane, and they often crash landed. But of course, very few of them really got seriously injured because the planes were flying so slow in those days.
Well, that takes us to the infamous crash in 1930.
Yeah, Ralph's time, his luck ran out in 1930, October, when he crash landed at Kotzebue. Then the residents of Kotzebue honored him by naming their airport the Ralph Wien Memorial Airport. And Noel then took the business and created Wien Air Alaska. And they ended up with like 800 employees serving out almost 190 places between Alaska and Canada. And then the business ceased operations in 1984, about 7 years after Noel died.
And again, now you know. I'm adding it to my personal trunk of Alaskan knowledge that I did not know until you sit on this couch and fill us in. It's great stuff to get our day started with. Well, thank you so much.